Hey there, welcome to Synth Seeker. My name is Luke. It is the 26th of January, in the month of Jamuary, where we take 31 days and each day try to make a little musical idea or a snippet or a little baby track, little seeds that we then use after January for the rest of the year. I'm just going to take those seeds and try and develop them into things over time. But the whole point of this was to generate a whole mess of ideas, and here we are. Let's see. Tonight's a special night. We have one synth used 4 times tonight. I've had 2 different friends ask me to do a little rundown of the Roland Cloud, the Roland Zenology Pro VST, the soft synth. And so I'm not using any hardware tonight. I'm using this. So if that makes you run away, that's okay. But it's a really great little synth, and it's not all that little either. We're just going to do a jam here. So we'll get the jam out of the way. And then I'm going to sort of take it apart. I'm going to talk about Roland Cloud, what it is, why it matters, and talk about the Zenology synth. And really just for my 2 friends. So this video is targeted to 2. And then if it's useful for other people, great. And if not, that's okay. It's just the 26th day of January. All right. So let's make some noise. Let me show you these sounds. We are working in what are we in? C Dorian, and we are in 4/4 time at 90 BPM. And our first voice is a pad. All right, and I've got that a little on the soft side. Then we've got some synth mallet. I like mallets, always have. And then we've got this nice thick bass. Which by itself, you know, when you're running through patches and you run across that sort of bass, you know, it doesn't sound exciting, but in the context of what we're going to do here, it's just perfect and it really feels great. And then we've got a little lead. All right, so let's start laying down some tracks. Start it up. Got our transport running. I've got a metronome in my ear, which the mic may or may not pick up. I'm going to work with 4-bar loops, and we're going to start with our little chord progression here. All right. Let's put some mallet action on that. Ooh, my timing is way off. Bad timing. All right, let's try again. That's better. Yes, we have quantized to fix it, but come on. Let's put some bass on here. I want to go back and put a different bass line over that. simpler bass line. Sometimes simpler is better. I like that one more. Let's put a different lead on that. I'm not even gonna record the lead, I'm just gonna noodle. I'm gonna delete the other one and start playing. If I can select the clip. There we go. I could get lost and just jam and jam. I'm almost like a guitarist. Anyway, so there's a jam. I'm going to save that idea. In fact, let me make sure I save it here. Save. Okay. And I'll end up using that idea later in the year for something else, or build something off of it, or I don't know, change the sounds, maybe take the sounds and do something completely different. But it's a good seed, right? I'll open up this project and it'll be interesting. So with that, I'm done with the jam. At this point, if you want to stop and move on to some other jam you want to listen to, go for it. But what I'm going to talk about now is the Roland Zenology synth and the cloud. All right. So, hey, thanks. Let's move on. All right. If we move back over here to Ableton and we go look at these voices, I love Roland synths. I always have. My very first run-in with a synth proper, keyboard in the 80s was Juno 106. My marching band director in junior high school bought a Juno 106 for, I think we were doing like a jazz band rendition of Van Halen's Jump or something like that. Anyway, but we saw the synth, fell in love with it, really, really wanted one. Eventually, one day, I ended up getting a Roland D10, was my first synth ever. I've told that story before, but the point is I really like Roland sounds. And Roland has this massive sort of history and massive just archive of timbres that are just Roland sounds. And I don't own any Roland gear, hardware. I did own a Jupiter XM a few years back, and I liked it. But Roland has a few other idiosyncrasies that make people just sort of shake their heads and go, oh, Roland. Things around how they organize their patches, things around how they do their MIDI implementations, the way they lay out their panels, and even the terminology they use for describing how their synthesis engines works. They go their own way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a Roland thing. Okay. And the Zenology engine is a Roland thing for sure. So let's take a look at it. I can't blame you for maybe looking at it and going, because when you first open it, it looks like this, right? And going, oh, well, that's not exciting. What's going on there? Well, I don't know. Maybe they're not real big believers in form follows function, because it doesn't look like much, right? I mean, that's essentially the player. When you open it up in edit mode, which I had it there in a minute, it still doesn't look like much, right? In this day of, VST synths got to look cool and have their own distinct, feel and usability and design. Well, this has its own, I'll say, but it's not the It's pretty fugly, you know. And if that breaks it for you, all right, fine, right? But I'm here for the sound, not the way it looks. And at the end of the day, what you deal with is, here's your patch selection. Here's your synth engine, more or less, right? The Zenology synth is a 4-layer synth, or 4, what Roland calls partials, right? Partial 1, 2, 3, and 4. And any given partial can have a lot of different synthesis methods in it, right? You've got PCM samples, you've got virtual analog, PCM sync, which is like sort of wave, kind of wave tables, kind of wave, it's rhythmic PCM stuff. It's got the Roland Supersaw and a noise oscillator, right? I'm not going to do a deep dive into how this synth works. This is not a review of this synth. This is just a quick sort of walkthrough for my two friends who are like, do I want this thing? And actually, let's take a step back. Let's talk about why you might want this thing, okay? So this little teeny box. The easiest way to get this is to head out to the Roland Cloud. Let's look at it. Yes, another cloud subscription service, but this one's actually good. This is not a sponsored video. I do not work for Roland. I am not getting paid for anything. This video is not monetized. My entire channel is not monetized, blah, 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 blah. I just do this for fun. Okay. Here's the thing. I had a Jupiter XM, and that's got a Zenology engine in it and can load the models and all the different synth, representations and things like that. And at the end of the day, it was a nice little synth, but it didn't click with me. But I wanted the sounds. I wanted those sounds, right? And so I started looking at the cloud, right? Well, for good Lord and butter, man, the Cloud Core membership is $3 a month. I mean, I assume it's something equally low in all of the other nationalities of the world. I'm in the US, right? But I would imagine they're not going to give us some sort of deep discount. It's $3, right? And the Pro version is $10 a month. So, go save up, for that $10. Spring for the Pro membership, because it's not like you have to pay the entire year. Like they offer it. You get a discount if you pay for a year in advance, but screw that. Just go pay $10 and go get a Pro Cloud account and just look at it for a month, right? Because you get everything. Literally, like, here's my library, and I'm just going to limit it to just Zenology stuff, okay? Where are we? All right, so here's my Zenology library. I'm just going to scroll. These are libraries, right? Synth libraries. There's like a bazillion libraries, and they're not full of crap. Roland is really careful about maintaining its curated sort of, perception that the Roland library sounds like Roland. And I have to agree, this is pretty good. So $10 gets you all this stuff. You have to install the cloud. Do you have to have that thing running? I've got a little process running in the background. Does it have to be running all the time? No, it doesn't. Once you install something, it activates and writes a license file to the machine itself, and then you can shut that down and you don't need it. Right? I don't keep it running all the time. I think once every year or maybe every 6 months, it'll ask me, "Hey, can you just turn it on long enough to revalidate that your thing is still valid?" Since it's a monthly subscription, it's probably once a month, but whatever. It's not that big a deal. And then you have access to all this stuff, right? Let's see. I like the JD800. Here's the JD800 sort of sound pack that I have not yet installed. We'll just do it. Install. So it writes its little activation file, and then it queues it, then it downloads it, and now it's installed. I've got some fat pipes here for the internet, but it's tiny, right? That wasn't because I have broadband, right? It's just bringing down a tiny little set of configurations for the engine, and that's it. It's installed. Now, if I go out here and I go look at my patch editing stuff, right? This little box here, add new banks, right? You just click on it. It's like, yeah, thanks, cool. Oh, JD800 Cosmic, great. Here's 15 new patches. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's load this one. right? And just to be clear, I don't have any processing running on this. It's just the Roland thing. Now, this is something I love about this, the patch browser. Frickin' arrow keys work. Now, if these sound old to you, it's like, well, duh, this is a JD800 package, right? It's emulating the JD800. Right? Those are all very usable sounds, right? They're all pad. This is a pad string library, right? And so we'll pick that one. We'll stay there, right? And the color scheme of the Zenology player changes based on what model of synth it is, right? So if it's orange, it's JD800. If it's red, I think it's Juno, or maybe if it's more orange, it's Jupiter. I don't remember. But you can get all of the models, JD100, Jupiter 8, SH101, Juno 106. Those are all included in the cloud, sort of monthly $10, right? It's worth just grabbing it and deciding if you like it or not. And if you don't like its, sounds or its inbuilt effects, just go and tweak them. All right, so let's bring up our little edit menu here, right? And the edit interface changes based on the synth model, right? So this is an JD800 interface, right? And I don't know how to program the JD800. I mean, in synths in general, sure, but I'm not gonna, again, this isn't a deep dive. I'm not gonna, drill through here, but let's see, let's change it from a JD800 model to a Jupiter 8 model. I gotta say the browser's pretty well done too. Let's go back to all banks, Jupiter 8. All right, and now we're Jupiter 8. It's still orange, but Jupiter 8 controls. Let's go to Juno 106. Juno 106, right? Very much more limited synth. And then you can just pull things up in just the Z core is the Zenology stuff. And we can go grab this, bring up the edit menu. And these are the effects. We'll turn that off. And really, that's how you use it, right? You can turn partials on and off. It's basically a 4-layer synth. I'm just talking about Zenology Pro, not the models for the Jupiter or the Juno or anything like that. And then this is your edit area, and you select which partial you want to edit. That's which layer of the synth. And then if you want to work on the pitch envelopes, or the oscillator stuff, the LFOs, the filters, right? It's a pretty rich synth, I gotta say. But honestly, I just frickin' use it as a preset box because there's only about 8 billion Roland patches out there, So that's about it. I just wanted to give a little demo to my buddies. Say, hey, this is what you want to do. I've only installed, what, 30 or so of these packs. And if we go back to the cloud, where's the cloud? Hello. If we go back to the cloud to my library, and again, we filter it down to just the Zenology stuff, you could see what's installed, and then all these other blue install. These are just stuff I haven't even scratched the itch on yet, right? There's just scores and scores of things. I haven't even got to the bottom third of the list yet. I think I've installed 2 things out of there. And really, that's about it. This is a good piece of software. I wouldn't sniff at it. I would definitely explore it. And for $10 a month, or $10 just to get in the door and check it out, it's a no-brainer. And it gives you the Roland sound, which I know Udo Super 6 is, modeled after the Juno 106, but it's its own thing. And it's not the Roland sound. This is the Roland sound. And is it exactly the same as the vintage hardware? Nah, but close enough for government work, close enough to fit in a mix, right? But again, you got to remember, I'm also the guy who's like, I prefer digital synths over analog ones because I only want shit to go out of tune when I tell it to go out of tune. So, barring my love affair with Moog stuff, everything I've got's digital. So anyway, that's all. I just was, but guys, you know who you are out on the Discords. This one, the back half of today was for you. I hope that's useful. talk to me online if you've got further questions, but it's worth the $10 to check it out. Hey, that's it. We had a jam. We had a little walkthrough of some Roland stuff, and I think we're good for today. What, 4 more days? 5 more days? 4 more days left after this. So January is winding to a close. If there's anything anybody wants to see or hear or wants me to do, I'm taking requests at this point. Otherwise it's just going to be more jams on random hardware probably. Okay? Thanks for spending time with me. And as always, you have been watching Synth Seeker. Have a great almost weekend. I'll talk to you tomorrow.